What's up, everybody? In this video, we're going to explore a principle called call and response and how you can use it to create some cool jacking house and deep house or house patterns. Let's do it. All right, so before we jump into this drum groove, let's talk about call and response in general for a second. And really, basically, call and response is just two phrases interacting each other in a way where you have a first phrase giving a call or creating a bit of tension or something, and then a second phrase responding and interacting with this first call and basically responding and resolving that tension a little bit. And even though it's a little bit abstract or minimal approach to this idea, I think you can also apply this principle to your house and tech house and Jackin House drums and use that as a fundament to build drums and variations on that. So let me show you what I mean. Let's say we have this very basic house beat right here. It's just a kick layered with a tambourine. Then you have an open hi-hat, a clap, open hi-hat, tambourine again, hi-hat. You get the idea. The point where the call and response comes in, as usually when it comes to jacking house and this kind of stuff, is happening on these 16th notes. So you have one bar right here. This is one bar. And then you have 4 beats in that bar. And the last 16th note of the second beat and the last 16th note of the fourth beat are where the jacking happens, basically. And the call and response comes in, for example, if you pick a kind of bright sound for the call, like this shaker, or hi-hat-ish kind of thing, and then reply to that with a sound that's a little bit duller or darker. So I have this filtered shaker back here. It's also a bit quieter, but that can be very nice to have that accent. So let's listen to that real quick. So that's very basic, but I guess you can tell how the brighter shaker is creating some tension and then the darker shaker is kind of like closing down the phrase. One more time. You can use that really well to create a lot of variation by kind of replacing or layering the call and the response and kind of playing with this concept. Obviously, also throughout your track, you can switch it up and have the call a little bit duller and then responding with a brighter sound, but I feel like this is working quite well. So let's say we're gonna layer the call with another snare, which I have in a different channel up here. Let's listen to that. Cool. So now we've already added another layer, which can come in later at a later point in the track or in the groove. And now let's also layer the response with another sound. And I feel like this 808 snare-ish kind of thing is pretty bright. So something darker could, for example, be a rim shot. So let's listen to what that sounds like. So at this point, you can tell it's not only the brightness kind of adding the rhythm or adding to the groove, it's also the texture of the elements. And you can also play with that and go through your samples, feel like, okay, what kind of different sound could I add to the call? And then what kind of sound could I add to the response? All right. Obviously, we don't want to just leave it at that and add some more elements to get the groove going a bit more. And this idea between having brighter and darker sounds and adding some tension release also kind of applies for all the notes that happened in between our call and response. So we can add some more shakers, for example. Another kind of hi-hatty shaker, and then a little sharper shaker for a different sound. And what I did here is basically also think about the texture and the brightness of these elements and said, okay, we have this tambourine on top of the kick and then later following the hi-hat. Why not go from something bright like the tambourine to something slightly darker to something very bright again? So maybe this is not brighter, but I guess you get not darker, but you get the idea. So having like some different textures, this can also add to your groove instead of just working with amplitude. So I added the darker shaker again back here, just basically filling up all the spaces that we have. And then I felt having something that is slightly brighter even, or just something different. You can just try out some different approaches and see what works well. Now you have the skippy, very cool skippy hi-hat pattern. And if you want to go into detail about this hi-hat pattern, I already did a video on that. I'm going to link it in the description if that's interesting to you. All right, so we already have this principle. I'm not going to take this much further, and you can just add some more elements and try out. I think usually you learn the most if you actually build a groove and just try stuff out. But before we finish off this video, let's make some people angry by adding some loops to the whole situation. And when you pick some groove loops that you want just to kind of fill up your groove, you can also kind of keep in mind the original principle which you were using to create your groove. For example, I found this groove loop, which has this nice dull texture, which I didn't have in my drums yet. And it also has this accent on the point where we have the call basically happening. So I felt like that would nicely complement the groove that we already have. So you can add that, and then just some random nice texture stuff. Makes it groovy and organic. Here we just have this another random thing, just very tiny stuff going on. And then also I added a bit of noise, of course, to glue everything together. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked the video and you also spend or waste some time on Instagram, why not add a tiny music production channel to your feed over there? So if you head to the description box, you will find a link to my Instagram channel. You will probably or most likely be one of the first 50 or 100 followers. So that would be an honor, and I would be very happy if some people head over there, because it's going to motivate me to put some quick tips and reels and posts and stuff like that out there. So why not? Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you soon.